most women look for. And that would be walkability and access,
Mhm.
community integration,
Mhm.
infrastructure. So if there's good internet, healthcare, good transportation, and of course,
Mhm.
cost of living. And
Mhm.
so right now, Da Nang, for example, is very much hot off the press location for most expats. And it brings a sense of peace, rhythm, harmony. I know the locals have really slow mornings. They do their walks on the beach, and in the evenings, they do their meditation, their yoga, or just simply watch the sunset. So that would be the experience for most.
And I'll chime in here. It's funny you answered number two, even though I kind of bumped to the next one. So the question that that Brittany answered was what makes a destination restorative from a real estate and lifestyle design perspective, not just a beautiful one, which is also very important because we can travel and go somewhere and fall in love as a tourist, but it's very different than living there. I will say a few other things that you want to pay attention to. You want to understand the government. You also want to understand as an expat, what your rights are. You want to understand long-term visa or how frequently you might have to have a visa run. You also want to understand medical. You want to understand the quality of healthcare systems. That is incredibly important. Because whether it's you fall off a scooter or you get sick or you get, food poisoning or whatever that is, you need to understand if anything serious were to happen, are you going to be able to get the proper medical treatment? And how much is that going to cost? These things are really, really important, which is another reason that Vietnam ranks very high, is because they have a very strong medical system. Medical care is amazing. You can get, your whole your teeth cleaning for $9. You can get a whole medical well visit with assessments and all of your testing done for about $150. So we know these things would be in the US, that would run you about $1,000 or more for something like that. So it's just really good to know that that is also something that's very strong. So thank you for sharing that perspective. But the blind spots might be some of the things that I just mentioned. For moving abroad internationally and investing. Also, I think that this would kind of lend itself to a question that maybe Nan can answer in terms of really what is required as an international investor. If you're interested in purchasing property, if he's not available, then you can chime in here, Brittany. But what is required from a foreign investor that's interested in purchasing a home, whether it's be a primary resident or an investment property? What's required, Nan, if you could share?
Well, I will pretty much sure make you surprised with the entrance barrier for Vietnamese market, that which is really simple and easy. So according to my experience with the foreign investor, we have a thing called property tour. Then sometimes you just can finish this within 3 days of a weekend. So like one of the top buyer from the international market in Vietnam in last 5 to 10 years is including Hong Kong, Singapore, and Korean people. So you know that our connection is very close. So on the weekend from Friday, they fly from Hong Kong, Singapore, or Korean to Vietnam. So they just need
Mhm.
to enter legally into Vietnam with a stamp on their passport. And then I can walk them through a property tour, working with a banker to help them to open a local bank account within 2 or 3 hours. And then if they decided to purchase any property in my portfolio, yeah, they can easily to do the internet banking with that bank account has been opened within 2 or 3 hours. And doing the first deposit for the property that I want, they sign a paper, they enjoy the city for the Sunday and fly back to the country and go back to work on Monday. So basically, according to the purchasing process, that they don't require you to be present in Vietnam full time. And this is, I think, is a
Mhm.
very, very relevant for the global citizen where now say that you travel, you're moving around the world, and it's not compulsory to push you to be stable in such a country for a term of time. So in all of the process to purchase a property in Vietnam, you just need to back and forth at least 2 times to sign the sales and purchasing agreement, like the contract, to be
Mm,
fully present in Vietnam is not necessary to do so. So you just need to be
mm.
enters stamp on your passport, sign contract, and you will have all of the right with your properties in here. And also, when you leave a property in a country that you're not live in there full time, right? So in Vietnam nowadays, we still have a very global property management company can help you to can manage your property. Like in US, you have CBRE is already have a very deep roof in Vietnam to help you to manage the property, so you can be confidently to leave your properties in here when you're not being present in Vietnam.
Okay, beautiful. So what I hear Nhan saying, if I were to just summarize, is that in Vietnam, you don't have to live there to purchase a property as a foreigner. So you can purchase it as an investment property. You can purchase it as a seasonal home, a second home. And so that's really nice to know. And then they do have property management companies that can help rent out your property on your behalf. I think I'd like to hear from you, Brittany, from a perspective of what are kind of the entry point price points when we think about purchasing in Vietnam? And, I know that Ha Long Bay, which is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, is actually more affordable than living in a Da Nang, which is just this up and coming Miami of Southeast Asia. Everybody's flocking there. So, what are we looking at in terms of like price points for maybe a standalone home, or a condo? And then
Okay,
rent.
so
I think it's very important to talk about the difference between owning and renting, because the renting is kind of
absolutely.
where it's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would say, of course, location depending, you can
Hmm.
have an entry price between 70,000 and 200. And then location depending 350 to 450. And then that single family, and those are typically like condos. And so for single family, it'll be about that 450,
In what
500 and
area,
up.
if you can be really clear and very specific, what area of Vietnam so people can understand the difference, location
Yeah, so
depending?
Ha Long Bay right now it's that 70 to 200,000, and then Da
Hmm.
Nang is that 350 marker. You can get some lower,
Hmm.
absolutely. And then
Hmm.
for Ho Chi Minh City, I would also say 350. And then the 450 would be that Ho Chi Minh City or the outer skirts of that city for single
Okay.
family.
Okay. 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 Good to know. And from a business perspective, where you're going to find the epicenter for business. Nong, where would you say that would be in Vietnam? What city?
Well, I think that for a booming destination is absolutely Ho Chi Minh City, for sure. Because in the 2025, Vietnamese have been through such a milestone in the revolutionize of the nationals. So we do the merging province. So if in US state, you got a stage, right? So you have like 50 plus stage. So in Vietnamese, we used to have like 63 province, but in 2025, we do has a huge merging that we will merge all the province to smaller to less number but upper scale of the geography. And Ho Chi Minh City have been merging with two other big province in Vietnam to with the purpose that to create Ho Chi Minh become a mega cities to competing with Shanghai, Hong
Mm,
Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, or even Seoul. So that was will be attract a lot of FDI for Ho Chi Minh City and a lot of effort from the government to push this city to become an international destination. So that's why I say Ho Chi Minh City will be still be at the top destination for Vietnam for next couple of years.
okay. Nyong, why have you? For someone that's outside of Vietnam, what's a common misconception about investing or living there that you might want to correct for people?
Well, yeah, I think that we have two very what do we call two common misperception that Vietnamese is a cheap destination. I won't say I don't use the word cheap for Vietnamese destination at all, but I think that we are now delivering a higher quality and the value for what the people paying for this country, including tourist services, facility, and even in real estate. So Vietnamese is considering its top three fastest growing branded residence market in South Asia, in Southeast
Mm,
Asia, can be
mm,
competing with even Japan, Korean, and China as well. So that
mm,
means we are now today delivering the equal quality of product comparing with any other country in the world. So it's hard to say that it's cheap. I think it's value for the cost that you invest in this country. And the secondly, that I think misconception is most of the time people know Vietnam as a tourist destination. But
mhm,
as I said at the beginning, now today we are now a focus on many different fields of uh, industry, like industrial, financial, and especially in technology.
mhm.
So in yeah, so in Ho Chi Minh City, we are, and even in Da Nang, where Brittany is based right now, we are setting up a thing called IFC, the International Finance Center. So you
Mhm.
can see this model is very familiar, like Hong Kong or Singapore. So we are on the way that to duplicate that model and turn Vietnam to become the hub of the financial for the South Asian, and furthermore, will be an international destination as well.
Incredible. Incredible. It's so exciting. There's so much more than meets the eye. When you first go, you know, it's beautiful, it's hip, it's happening. The restaurants, the cafes, like I said, the geodiversity, the mountains, the beaches, the cultural excursions and the sites, the monumental places to go it's just breathtaking. And the funny thing is when I was traveling to Bali, every time I was traveling, and I'm on the flights with people. Maybe I'm stopping in Singapore, maybe I'm stopping in Taipei or having layovers in different places. When I said I'm going to Bali, they would say, you got to check out Vietnam. And that's how it kind of got on my list. It looks like Lawlen said, I had no idea about the fast growth and strength of Vietnam's economy. Absolutely. And so I want to just do a quick call out and say, I want to thank, I saw Connie just rejoin, Dr. Anders, Carla, Catherine, Lonnie, and all of those that are joining us on social media. Thank you. Go ahead and start dropping your questions in the chat because we are going to be winding down in the next few minutes. And what's maybe surprising you about the conversation, I did see in the chat, Connie, you said somewhat not where I desire to be. That was around 8:58. If you're No pressure, but if you want to come off mute and share more perspective about the comment in the chat, would love to welcome you to do that.
Hi, sure. I'm trying to remember the question. Um,
Or just in general, what you're thinking about the conversation around Vietnam. I know it's not on everyone's radar.
no, it's not, but the conversation is very interesting. And I'm glad I did join. But I love this conversation because I have been thinking recently, I would say in the past year or two, of a second destination home. I call it, my
Mhm.
winter home. But now that I'm older, I want to be somewhere warm, all the time with water and, the nice blue skies. And so I love the variety of just knowing what's out there instead of just, the basics, Bahamas, things that we just hear about every day, but to hear about other countries and, as an American, you still will be okay living over there. I'm just loving the conversation. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things too that I think is very special about Vietnam that also has made me more intrigued, because what I do is I study a lot. I do a lot of research before I go to a country. And I do that by looking at YouTubes and just hearing on the ground foreigners, expats, just their experience. And something that's been so consistent is that the Vietnamese are so friendly. And I can just say, like, that's been very consistent. And I think that Young talked about that even yesterday, just kind of like the welcoming spirit of the Vietnamese people. And it's a beautiful thing to feel safe, to have a nervous system that's calm, to be in a place where there's not like the violent crime that we know in the United States as well. That's something else. So all of those things make it, I think, an extra desirable destination. Young, I wanted to ask you, and I can see you're probably going to chime in a little bit. But I wanted to ask you, if a woman in this Zoom room or in this audience wanted to experience Vietnam, not as a tourist, but as someone exploring it as a life hub or a second home or even temporarily, what would you tell her to look for first?
Well, yeah, I think that if you are not being in the pressure that have to be setting up a business and become an entrepreneur in Vietnam, so Vietnam has plenty of the option for you to put it as second home. So let walk through our portfolio so for better recommendation. So my company we distribute for two big international tourist destination, but nowadays they are transforming themselves become a destination for a real second home. The first one is Halong Bay. So Halong Bay is everybody who know about so well. It's a worldwide UNESCO destination. But the thing that you don't know that the Halong Bay is belong to one of the biggest province in the Vietnam. It's called Quang Ninh. And for this province, they have a perfect combination between all of the industry. You can go there to work, to setting up a business. You can doing your hotel business in there. You can do like office work, normal digital nomad, you're doing the business and tours, and you're living a life along the beach. And I think this is a beautiful place for you to have the perfect combination. And secondly, that in Quang Ninh, in Halong Bay, you have a very nice sightseeing with combined between the mountain cities and along the ocean. So that was a perfect living environment. And also due to our portfolios now stay in Halong Bay, they are building a brand new metro line, which will help you to connect back to the Hanoi,
Hmm.
will back to Hanoi within like 27 to 30 minutes. So
Wow.
imagine that you go to the IFC in Hanoi to go to work in the morning and you catch the train to back to your beautiful house along the beach within 30 minutes. That was a fascinating in mind. And even if you don't want to go by train, it's just away from Hanoi for 2 hours precisely accurate by a highway. So 2 hour driving from such a capital of a city, I think is a perfect destination drive through. So how long is my recommendation at this state of time?
Beautiful. Thank you. This is a picture. Can you see my screen of Halong Bay? Yes, this is the beauty of Halong Bay. If any of you follow me on Instagram, Utopia Living with Naya, you scroll down enough, you'll see some of my highlights from my Vietnam experience and trip, and you'll see, my pictures of Halong Bay, and it's absolutely stunning. And actually, this is where properties are a little bit more affordable. And so I will punt the ball to Brittany as our last question of the hour. Where do wellness and real estate actually intersect? Is it the location? It might be a question for both of you. Is it the location, the design, the community, or something else?
So I would say it's all four. Location is definitely top, and the design is what would keep someone comfortable to their standards.
Hmm.
But community is really what determines whether you actually stay in a place and call
Hmm.
it home
Hmm.
versus just visiting. And so
Yeah.
I would say that most of today's buyers that they're looking for that community, that global connectivity, and being able to what we call in the real estate industry have lifestyle living, lifestyle factors like wellness, outdoor living, and overall just livability, excuse me, of
Livability.
yes, of centering and purchasing as far as where they want to be located. And
Hmm.
so from my perspective, just being here in Hoi An and visiting Da Nang and being on the beach, um, it really comes down to what supports your ordinary health. The
Hmm.
food, the clean air, the accessibility, the walkability, and being able to, once again, we come back to that phrase, centering and resetting your nervous system, and which allows you to have better sleep. And
Yeah.
so I would say all, but
Hmm.
the major one would be community for sure.
Beautiful. Actually, not Young, I'm going to ask one question that's slightly different, to close it out. If you could share what is What is it about Vietnamese culture specifically, the pace, the philosophy, the rituals that lends itself to a restorative and intentional life?
Well, I
1 minute.
think the key culture that we have, like most of the Asian country, that the family oriented. So I think this is going to be a little bit different with the Western country and maybe from US as well. So even me myself, I was a strong impact, and I think I'm really Asian person that with us, the family to be together, which is a very important, and it's having a strong impact on our mindset. So most of the time that Vietnamese people, they live independent these days, but in the mindset, in their heart, is always family driven. So
Hmm.
this kind of culture is also impactful, very strong into the desire to have a home.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
because if you live in independence, you have a lot of desire to go to see it around the world, and
Hmm.
sometimes that will lead you to you don't really have to have a home at all. But when you are family driven, you want to take care of your kid, you want to take care of your parent, and even means we still have a culture like generation living together under the home. So
Hmm.
that means the desire to having a home, a house, a property, or even a father in an assets portfolio is not just a need from one individual person, but it can
Hmm.
be a desire, a wish for all of the family. For example, my family is a case. My parents, like me and my son right now, we are still not having our first home yet, to be honest. So
Hmm.
we are all of us three generation is hunger to have a house that all of us can live and share the space together. And
Hmm.
this very small philosophy is making a strong impact with the absorption market of us.
Hmm.
Because as long as this desire still exists in the market, then we can still absorb more product in the new supply in the futures. That would be exactly different from other market.
No, that's beautiful. I really love being in countries that are very family focused. It is a totally different environment. We're not made to be individualistic, and it's very much an American way. But I really celebrate and appreciate community, and that's what She Rises is all about. And so it also creates like you don't see homelessness the way you see in America. You don't see people just you don't see mental illness. You don't see people walking down the street crazy. You don't see people being violent towards each other. It's such a different world once you start to travel globally, and especially in certain parts of the world, like Southeast Asia, and it's refreshing. So we talk about our nervous system being calm. We talk about having mental margin. We talk about having financial margin. We talk about, being able to connect in community. There's so many people that I've talked to that have shared examples of, you know, Vietnamese people inviting them over for dinner. And just that sense of connection and family and community is something that I think is beautiful. And that's a part of wellness at the highest level, a sense of belonging. So, as we draw to a close, I want to open it up for any questions. Do we have any questions? You're welcome to
I
put
think
questions in the chat, or you can come off mute. Oh, go ahead now.
I see that Carla has a question.
What's the projected growth in property market investment if you purchase? Oh, great, if you purchase in Vietnam. I'll let you answer that, Young.
Well, yeah, I think let's do it a little bit as a number. According to most of the grow market report from like big research company like Saville or CBRE in Vietnam, so the average growing rate of the property in Vietnam through the year is around 10 to 15% every year for the capital appreciation, and depends on the location that the rent to use can be somewhere around 2-3% and upper to 8% in some of specific region. But I would say that if you're looking at an aspect of investment, that capital appreciation is going to be amazing with some of the project that can be double or triple time increasing after the time. So
Mhm.
for investing in Vietnam is very promising, especially in the scenario that we are doing a heavily investment in our infrastructure. Like you say, we are in the growing country with a metro. So the government, especially only for Ho Chi Minh City, we are having a target that to increase 200 more kilometers for the metro line in only for Ho Chi Minh City in next 3 years from now to 2030. And in
Mhm.
US or even Europe, you know how impactful that the metro can transform a city's present
Oh yeah.
to all of the economy. We see the Shanghai, we see the Tokyo, we see the Seoul, or even
Yeah.
the England or US has been strongly impactful by the railway or the metro station. So
Mhm.
in Vietnamese, we are in that early stage of the transforming history like that way.
Yeah. And the accessibility of being able to move throughout a country is huge. And so when I lived in Bali, because Bali is an island and a province, you literally had to either take a boat or fly, and most people flew. And there was much of Indonesia that's gorgeous, that I didn't get a chance to see a lot of it because it wasn't easy to hop on a train, and just kind of move around the country. And so that ease of movement with the rail system is significant. So thank you for answering that. I also see we have another question from Connie. What advice would you share for entrepreneurs creating streams of income looking to live abroad? I'll share a couple since I've lived abroad for about a year. Something that's very common, especially in Southeast Asian countries, is teaching English as a additional revenue stream. Is something that can be done virtually or in the classroom. That's just an easy no-brainer. The cost of living is so affordable in a lot of countries. So $25,000 is enough to live very well. If you're renting in Vietnam, because you're talking about $500, $400 in rent, meals average, if you're eating local Vietnamese food, which is delicious, fresh, and healthy, $1 to $2 on average. If you're eating US food, you're going to pay a little more, but fresh, whether it's pho, whether it's banh mi, whether it's other dishes, um, you can do that very affordably. You're not paying for a car note. You're not paying for car insurance. You're not paying the same in electricity and water bills and all of these other things. And a lot of times, even from like an apartment living perspective, it might include cleaning twice a week. That's very common. It might include perhaps water, or some of your utilities might be included. So the quality of life is just tremendous. Some people still have work in the US, and then some people are also creating content. So those are some of the big things that people do to create streams of income while living abroad. And Brittany, if you want to chime in on that, if you want to add anything, feel free.
Nope, I think you hit all the major ones. There's a lot more. There's definitely a lot more, but those are like the major ones. Yes.
Yeah, the major ones. So yeah, so those are a few. And so want to see if we have any other questions. All right. So what I'd like to do, if you have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'd like to move us over as we get ready to close out to sharing a little bit more about the She Rises Vietnam Women's Leadership Experience, because this is more than a retreat. As I said, it's a movement. It is a global community. And we're actually going to have a wonderful follow-up conversation this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the She Rises Executive Wellness Briefing. We're going to be talking more about the state of women leaders and our well-being, the state of burnout, the state of impact in terms of our lives holistically, and a little bit more about what it means to be a founding member of She Rises global community. And so I would love to invite you all to be a part of that. You will find the link to my link tree is in the chat, and I'll drop it again. But just a quick overview of this experience. This experience is going to be so incredible. It's going to be 7 days, 6 nights. She Rises, the Utopia Renewal Vietnam experience. It's a restorative retreat for women leaders of faith, purpose, and impact, CEOs, entrepreneurs, founders, and executives. And what we're going to do is experience 3 nights in Da Nang, that coastal city, that Miami of Southeast Asia. It's beautiful, it's stunning, it's robust.
Vâng, giờ mấy Trinh đi làm
Oh,
rồi.
I was blown away when I actually saw the experiences and sunsets in Da Nang. I was just going to try to mute, but I think everybody muted themselves. So thank you for that. So our retreats are unique because again, we do blend luxury wellness with daily coaching, with cultural excursions, and social impact. And so the first 3 days will be at Tia Wellness Resort, 5-star wellness resort. It also includes 80 minutes of spa and wellness treatments, two spa treatments every single day, really to help you restore, help you to relax, help you to rest well, and also the cultural experiences that we talked about. High level overview. We will also experience, I'm going to scroll back up here, 3 days in Hanoi, in Hoi An. Hoi An is a coastal river city that's just about 30 minutes from Da Nang. So not a long distance, but it's charming, it's cute, it's quaint, and it's known for, floating down the river with these beautiful lanterns in the evening. So I'll just kind of show you a few different pictures here so you can get a sense of breakfast all day at Tia. Both resorts have their own private pool and plunge bathtubs. So the villas are exquisite. They're beautiful. This is Hoi An, where you can see the beautiful lantern river experience. This is the Dragon Bridge. So many beautiful cultural experiences. This is Namia, which is the river retreat. This is their river cruise that goes out every single evening at 5 p.m. prior to dinner. So if you just are interested in learning more, I want to invite you to be a part of this experience. And we actually, let me see if I can refresh this. We actually have added the itinerary to the website too. I'll have to speak with Lawlin about that. Because the itinerary should be showing. But once again, as a high level overview, each day you'll experience daily immersive wellness classes. So there's a number and abundance of classes. You can start with early morning sunrise classes before we meet for our group breakfast and coaching sessions. That'll be followed by a group wellness experience, spa and or yoga, breath work, or authentic traditional Vietnamese healing and wellness classes. And then we'll have an opportunity to experience a cultural immersion experience together and dinner together, and just ending the evening with more spa and wellness treatment. So that's every day. You'll receive that holistic experience. So it's going to be powerful, restorative, and amazing. So again, if you're interested in learning more, please join us this Sunday to learn more about the Utopia Renewal Experience Vietnam. And I'm going to put my information in the chat one more time and see if we have any additional questions. Let's see. Very informative. Thank you. Great information. Beautiful. Thank you for joining us. And I want to ask you, if you don't mind, share with us maybe one of your takeaways from tonight's session. What was one of your takeaways from tonight's session before we close out? And you're welcome to come off mute if you like. I want to thank everyone for joining us on Facebook and on Zoom.
Sure, this is Connie. My takeaway is, God, it's so many, but I would say the top one will probably be living abroad is definitely possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Possible, feasible, and you might even, if you decide to take the leap, say, what took me so long?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad that you have, um, I guess I could say past experiences to share versus just word of mouth. So that brings a lot of value to it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks. Hmm.
I saw Catherine go off mute. Catherine, did you
Oh,
want to say something?
well, I just had a new perspective about living abroad, but specifically, as you were talking about Vietnam, it just gave me a completely different perspective, just with the personal stories and the descriptions and just the heartfelt. I just felt it was very heartfelt tonight,
Mm,
with the delivery, the messaging, and community. That community is not just where you grew up. Community is wherever you go live and you find that community. And so that really resonated with me.
absolutely. Thank you, Catherine.
Hmm.
That's powerful because it is. And I think sometimes we're so used to the familiar, we're afraid to step outside of our comfort zone, but that's where the true growth happens, you know? And so, what we've always known is changing so rapidly in terms of the landscape in the United States. And I think that we owe it to ourselves to think about, what does living a life that we love look like? What do we really value? And being willing to do something different so we can have something different. One of the things I say all the time is change requires change. Nothing is going to change in your life if you don't make some changes and if you don't do something different and step outside of your comfort zone. And so that's where the biggest blessings come from. And so I just want to encourage everyone to be open to that, right? And now that I'm home for a little while visiting with family, and I feel so blessed to have that opportunity. But there's a lot of things that every day I'm like, gosh, I can't believe I'm spending this on a Starbucks coffee and little, turkey bacon, whatever, and that's what, $12? Brittany can tell you, like, that $12 is more than what, you might spend eating a healthy, delicious meal of, for me, my fresh coconut water out of the coconut, my omelet with fresh veggies, nothing processed, no hormones, none of that. Like just the quality of food. And we cannot be well if we're not eating really nutritious food. And I look around all the time in the grocery store, like we're on the go, we're on the go, we're on the run. And I'm like, wow, most of the things that we're eating and that are accessible to us are really killing us. So food is either going to heal you or create disease. And so when you even think about that, one of the things I also wanted to double back on, even with Vietnam, is the air quality is so much better than it was in Bali, and the walkability is so much better. I love walking. And so the fact that there are sidewalks and you can walk without all the motorbikes being on there. So it's like you do have to find what country kind of speaks your language and what things are important. And sometimes you don't know until you've had a chance to go experience it. And then you can say, these things I love. I loved living, a 10-minute ride from numerous beaches. I love being able to do my beach walks. There's things that I loved feeling safe. There are a lot of things that I loved, and then there were also things that I still felt like I was still yearning for. So, with all that being said, I just want to say thank you to everyone that joined. And please go ahead and click the link that we've dropped for each of us. Connect on LinkedIn. You can register for our Sunday call. You can also schedule a discovery call because maybe you're also looking for some coaching and you want to explore global living. You want to explore creating your utopia. You want to explore having a more holistically healthy life, and you're not sure if you can make it on this upcoming retreat. So we can also explore that too. And if you are interested in learning more about global real estate, the projects that Young is working on and Brittany is working on, please reach out to them as well, and we will be in touch. So thank you all, and make it a Utopia Living evening.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you.
great evening.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you
Goodbye.
all for your time. Good night to US and good morning to Saigon.
Yes.
Mhm.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Good morning, Vietnam.
All
Okay,
right.
goodbye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye,
Thank you so
everyone.
much for your
Bye.
time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.